Hi there. Today I wanted to talk about how we as individuals can begin to raise our own vibrations and frequency. When I was faced with my own struggles with opiate addiction, I had no financial resources, no means to go into a treatment center, high quality or otherwise. I had no options, even the government options or detox centers are often completely full to capacity, and there's a long wait list just to get into a detox bed, and these places aren't the most comfortable, you know. I absolutely believe there's a place for treatment centers, and that those people who have insurance or the financial means to enter into a treatment center facility, these can be life saving. So I'm not judging or placing doubt on treatment centers. This video is to discuss what we do when we don't have that option. So my own self, I was able to use a few of the, like for example, I got a counselor here, and she was near the downtown east side here in Vancouver. Very lovely woman, and she was free of charge. But the thing is that she was brand new to the field of counseling. She was so empathic, but after the second or third visit, we became more like friends instead of a counselor client kind of relationship, and she began to tell me about her life, her personal struggles, her relationship, and we started to exchange as if we were friends. And I didn't find much assistance after the third or fourth visit. I realized, okay, I've got to find something else. After attending so many AA meetings, NA meetings, I was re-traumatized or traumatized by these meetings because of being an empath, which I didn't know at the time, that I absorb other people's feelings and emotions in my own body. I can read people's energetic conditions pretty well. So hearing the horror stories and being around people who are obviously still quite traumatized by their own experiences and behaviors and actions that they've done to others and what's been done to them, hearing these stories was re-traumatizing to me. I'm not sure how many others feel this way. Also, there's sometimes a tendency in these groupings. I know that vulnerable women have often complained that it feels like they're fresh meat, and a lot of times men in AA can come on to them, understanding that they're in a vulnerable place, especially if they're new. This has been talked about a bit. Again, I'm not judging or knocking programs, 12-step programs at all. Like, I know they're helpful for who they're helpful for, but they're not going to be helpful for everybody. Especially now, we have a new kind of sensitive consciousness that's arising in young people. And so we're going to need new things and new programs for this growing epidemic of young people in addiction and young people in mental health, or old people. I focus a lot on young people because we're the ones that are going to need to prepare even more for what's going to be happening in this world, and with this shift of consciousness that we're embarking on together as a species. So, 12 step groups don't always help when you are somebody who can be re traumatized by the stories involved. I participated in something called SMART recovery, which looks more at the mind and the psychology of habits, and tries to teach how we can create new habits by understanding how the mind works. I did find that very helpful. However, it was lacking the fellowship that is often really nice about AA. In AA, there's a community, and you basically walk into a community of people who are trying to be supportive and help each other to stop to do these negative, destructive habits. So, SMART classes were more just like classes. You learned about the mind and some psychology. Um, what I found so helpful for me, because I thought to myself, what on earth am I going to do? I don't have the money to go to a treatment center. I'm a slave to my addiction. I was in a cycle of debt with these payday loans, these vampiric payday loans. I had I was just in a place of I felt almost hopeless, completely hopeless. I didn't know what to do. There was many times I considered ending it all, but I have had a few friends take their own lives, and I know the trauma that is involved with that. And so, of course, I didn't want to, but I was feeling so frustrated. I didn't know what other options I had. And so, in this sort of despair, I started to journal, and I started to ask myself questions. And I would basically start my journals with Dear Spirit, Dear Beloved, Dear Infinite One, trying to cultivate a relationship with God. This is one way that we can all raise our vibrations and frequencies. There's a lot of atheists out there with good reason, because the religious institutions have turned a lot of people off to the idea of God. And myself, when I was younger, I just couldn't get behind any particular religion. I wanted to believe in something grander than what was being given to us. Like, you look at society and the way that schools are set up, and the medical institutions, and just everything, how we are with each other. There's so much lack, there's so much limitation, there's so much ugliness. And then you see nature, which is this abundant and beautiful. And as a child, it's a very strange thing to have to reconcile. Why is our human society looking like such trash, and the people are so dysfunctional, but yet we have nature, which is also a part of life, thriving wherever she's allowed to thrive, right? This was such a hard thing to come to terms with as a child. I knew something was off, was just not right. And as I started to talk more with God, and I would write myself questions asking, why am I dependent on something that's hurting me? What's going on? And I started to get answers to these questions. Either they would come into my own mind, or I would be given videos of some great spiritual teachers, great thought leaders from now and of the past, like Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts. And then in the past there was Neville Goddard, Genevieve, I can't remember her last name, but people who talk about how the subconscious mind works and how you can create your own reality deliberately. We are all creating our own reality. We're just ignorant of what we're doing. Most of us are so used to and habituated into negative thinking about ourselves and our lives that we don't realize we're creating more of that negativity, just energetically drawing it to us. If we want to raise our vibration, we have to take steps to bring it to us. First of all, wanting to heal, wanting to raise your vibration, cultivating a relationship with God, making your own self, your human ego, and then your true self, but making it the absolute most important thing to yourself. People might think, oh, this is egotistical or self-absorbed, but it's not, because we all need to start with our own individual selves, because that's the only thing we can heal. Okay, we have to start with ourselves, and once we start with ourselves and we raise our vibrations and heal, that energy emanates out to all around us. Energy is in waves, okay? And so when you have any sort of emotion, you are producing waves that affect a pretty big radius around, and depending on how powerful you are. There was a slogan that I loved from this woman named Esther Hicks. She channels Abraham, and she said, one person who is in alignment with divinity, with the universe, with God, with spirit, one person who is in alignment with this life force is more powerful than a million who are not in alignment, a million people who are still in lack and limitation. So I do believe that we are all suffering from the ignorance of not knowing how our mind functions, and then the traumas of our childhoods and the traumas of even our daily lives now. We definitely look outside of ourselves to soothe, to medicate, to self-medicate. So this is why we are dealing with so much addiction now, and not just with drugs and alcohol, but addictions to social media and the internet and our phones. is a huge, huge issue that is affecting our children. And most of us, because this is happening just in the last few years, the problems are only now just starting to pop up. I just listened to a news report on how violent kindergartners are becoming in the public schools in Portland, Oregon. They had all these issues with children attacking their teachers. So this is an increase. You know, this is not something that's always been happening. This is now happening on a large scale because children are so frustrated, angry, attention deficit because of all the media they're seeing, tablets and phones in their hands, you know, when they're babies. I understand that it's part of our culture, but I think that we need to really start to think, how could this affect my child's brain and mind? So, yes, we are dealing with a lot of dependencies and addictions, and also, I'd say, separatism and externalization. What I mean by that is that we go outside of ourselves for help. We go outside to the medical doctor and the medical industry when something's going on with our bodies. We don't stop to think, okay, why is this manifested in my life? Because we've all been taught that we're victims of circumstance, that we see somebody getting some disease and maybe we start to obsess about it or fear that we might get it, and then we end up getting it because we are attracting things to us without realizing we're doing that. And instead of starting inside and here, we want to start from the outside where the problem's already manifested. But in order to heal and to dismantle the problem that's already been manifested, we need to take it backwards. Okay, so if somebody has a dependency on drugs, alcohol, or sex, or internet, you can say, well, what started this? Usually what we're going to find is that there's a gaping hole somewhere that you're trying to fill through this action, through filling your moments with doing this action, or the dopamine rush of whenever we check to see a new comment or a new like, you know, being aware, oh, whoa, I am doing this kind of frequently, and how is that affecting my life now? How is that affecting my family's life, my work? And so understanding these things, investigating your own self, making yourself the prime person that you are focused on improving, and knowing that when you improve your own self and raise your own vibration, that affects everybody around. So, journaling, being observant of our own thoughts, taking responsibility for our actions instead of saying, oh, this person made me do it, or this person made me feel this way. No, we are actually responding based on a belief we have about ourselves or the world, and then we respond to something somebody says. It's still our choice, even though these reactions happen so quickly. Once we start to see, or even just ask ourselves, okay, why did this person say this thing? Okay, why did what they say make me react this way? Instead of, I can't believe that person said that. Why is this particular thing making me react so negatively? Then you start to switch it around. You start to empower yourself, take responsibility, and gain control over the mind, because the mind is going to fight us to the very end. The mind is our perceived identities of who we are, and it will come up with every excuse in the world not to heal, not to do this work, to put it off until tomorrow, to say my life isn't so bad, anything it will. But we are more powerful, the human spirit, the human soul, and we're all in this whether we like it or not, because the planets and the stars have aligned. We've already switched over to the age of Aquarius, to this new enlightenment phase. It's a beautiful time, and so because none of us are going to be able to escape it, we might as well jump on the bandwagon and begin to love ourselves, empower ourselves, raise our frequencies, and heal. Okay, everybody, I love you. I love every single human soul on this planet. I love every animal and plant and Mother Earth herself. Have a great day and talk soon. Bye.